this video, I'm going to tell you what an Amazon to Amazon flip is and why they're well worth investing in whenever you come across them. So unless you're strictly about Amazon to Amazon flips, which I'd personally say is a bit of a tough gig, I would say that you're more likely to come across these sort of things just as and when you're sourcing and analysing. And when you do, it's worth knowing what they're all about because they can work out really, really well for you. So sometimes when you're sourcing, it might be that the price difference between the store itself and Amazon isn't so great. But if you see things like this is an older example that I've used, but it's one of the best ones that I know off the top of my head, where buying it from Amazon and then reselling it on Amazon can actually be so much better. Now, you might not know what I'm talking about. So what I mean by Amazon to Amazon flips is you buy the product from Amazon and then sell it on Amazon, right? So it's the exact same item, you're buying it from Amazon, you sell it on Amazon. Now, why would you do that? The point is, at times, and what you're looking for is consistent times, at times the price of the item can get significantly lower for a period or periods, and then it raises its price, whereby it's better to buy it from Amazon at the point where it's cheaper and then resell it around the period that you believe it will get that higher price, where it will achieve that higher price. Maybe it already has by the time you've prepped it and sent it off to Amazon. And that's something that you can assess by looking at sales charts. It's going to be really hard to do this without a sales chart. So I'm going to be using the one in BuyBot Pro, but any sales chart will do, so long as you can see the buy box price and how that's fluctuated over time. So this is one of the best examples that I can come up with off the top of my head, whereby it's had periods where it's had a much lower price on Amazon, and also an equal amount of periods where it's moved up in price. Not so much recently. It looks like there's some gaps where either Keeper's not been tracking that information, but more than likely it looks like there's perhaps been points where the buy box has been suppressed, which is why we've got some gaps in the information. It looks like overall, on average, the buy box price has remained at that higher point in the past couple of months. So when I did come across it, it was around this period right here. So this was an Amazon to Amazon flip. And if we look at this little area right here, so if you were selling this item in this kind of time zone, and of course if you saw this sort of thing recurring over time and recently, because that's what you want it to be a recent thing. You don't want something old, you want it to be recent. So I would say anytime in the last 30 to 90 days, if you can see this kind of pattern, then it's going to be an Amazon to Amazon flip most likely. So when I was originally looking at this item in this period, I was noticing that it had an equal amount of stages where it was at a lower price and then an equal amount at a higher price. Now the difference between the lower and the higher price was quite significant. So we'd have these periods where it was at £27, right, and even 21 at points, but it also had an equal amount of stages where it would be much higher. So we're looking at £40 to £50, and that was at this stage right here, and then not quite as high as that, but we were hitting those kinds of marks in this period and right here again. So we had numerous stages where it would go significantly down, then significantly up, and that's what you're looking for. As I say, of course, you want that in a more recent time period than what we've got here. So I would say anytime in the last 30 to 90 days is what you're going to be looking at in order to assess that trend. And what you're looking for is not just one instance where it's moved down. So if we just imagine that it only went down at this one point only and then it was up and it remained up for the entirety, that's not really going to work out. Where it has continual consistent stages where it is at a much lower price and then at a much higher price, and it keeps swapping, that's what you're looking for. Now there is a bit of a gamble that happens when you do Amazon to Amazon flips. You need to time it right, basically. So you need to sort of gauge how much time it spends at that lower price and how much time it spends at the higher price. If it's spiking up like this, where it's not really been at that higher price for very long whatsoever, of course it moves back down, but not buy as much as what we had right here, and then it sort of shot down again, but the overall average lower price was much higher. Where we have it shooting up but then shooting back down in a short time span, that's not really what we're looking for. We're looking for things like this. This is ideal, and in some senses this kind of is right here if we ignore these little spikes. But this is ideally the sort of thing that we're looking for. Where we get sort of like clearer instances like this one, and it's continual, so if it was basically like these two instances right here just over and over and over, that would be the most ideal scenario, because we can judge how long it was at that lower price and how long it's at the higher price. So what we want to then do is buy the product at the lower price and then sell it when it's in the stage where it is at that higher price, so that way we can, you know, make money from it. Now, as I say, there is a bit of a risk factor involved because no one can predict the future. So even if we do a really thorough analysis and we read these charts, there's no way of telling if this is going to continue, because as you can see for this item, it did stop at one point, and then the average kind of pricing has just remained exactly the same for the remainder of time that we have here. But, you know, if we were looking at the item from like an older time period, if we were looking at it, maybe if we go back a bit further, if we were looking at it from any point from here to here, like this was a good couple of months, like a good few months from summertime through to around winter time, a good few months where we've got continual patterns of lower pricing and higher pricing, and it's just working out what kind of time it spends at that lower and what kind of time it spends at the higher. So how long it lasts is dependent, really. It just depends where the buy box goes and what happens with it repricing wise. And what I would say to you in order to keep the flow, because what you don't want to do is raise the price too high on the listing. So if we're looking at it now in a repricing sense, we bought the item, when you are repricing, I would say not to upset the flow too much. So by all means reprice, bump it up that little bit higher, but you don't want to go too high, because anyone that's at the significantly lower pricing will be going, why am I selling for, you know, so little? I can move my price up as well, and then that will kill these periods where it's significantly lower, right? So you don't want to move it too high, like beyond the higher kind of pricing that you're seeing from these results right here. Keep it small, don't go too large with your max price, and you can have like an Amazon to Amazon flip that hopefully keeps on giving for a nice little time period. And obviously that's what you're looking for when you're selling an Amazon. You're moving from opportunity to opportunity, and you know, this item, if you were selling it around summertime, would have seen you through quite nicely up until the winter. So that's a good almost half a year that we've got there of this item where we can simply buy it from Amazon and sell it for higher. As I say, there is a risk factor because we don't know if the time period it is going to be at that higher price is going to remain for the same kind of time period as what it had before. But that's the risk that you take with the Amazon to Amazon flips. Fundamentally, what I wanted to do was explain exactly what this is and what to look out for in the sales charts, because when you get in on them, it is a fantastic opportunity, because if it doesn't work out from the store, it might actually work out better from Amazon. And that's what you need to be able to assess when you are looking at these sales charts. And repricing wise, just don't upset the balance too much by going way too high, because as I say, that'll encourage everyone else to move up. And I mean, that might end up working out for you, but it also might not. So there is a bit of a risk involved with it, but it just depends if you feel like you want to take that risk. As I say, part of being an Amazon seller is moving from opportunity to opportunity, and an Amazon to Amazon flip could be one of those opportunities. Hopefully this video helps. Thank you for watching.